and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN FM, where each week is an unscripted journey of discovery into the many facets of love, oneness, and our connection to the human spirit. I'm Lisa LeRose, and I'm joined by my incredible co-host, Michael J. Russ. I want to say, Michael, hello, and thank you for joining me on this adventure. And I want to let you know I might be throwing you a few curveballs today. So get ready.
As always, as usual. That's okay. I can field curveballs. One way or the other. Yeah.
You are so resilient, and I absolutely love that about you. So I've been tuning into lots of different conversations from so many people whose wisdom I respect regarding the energies of this year. And they've all been saying that we are in the midst of one of the most transformative and unusual years in recent history, that this year is marked by so many unique astronomical alignments that have really defined it as an astrological wonder. And so many of the astrologers have been referring to this time as a once-in-a-lifetime convergence of planetary forces. They are saying that these cosmic alignments could possibly reshape society, technology, and even consciousness itself. But as you know, right now there is so much external noise telling us how to think and feel and speak. And, we see and hear it all the time on TV and social media. And I believe that oftentimes we don't even realize how these external influences impact our ability to be authentic. And I think that somewhere along the way, many of us began to find it very difficult to step into our own uniqueness and to truly own how we think, how we feel, what we fear, what brings us joy. There are so many things that have made us uniquely ourselves. And a lot of what we speak about on the show is to let go of the fear and the conditioning so that we have the ability to really connect with the truth of who we are. It's so important for each and every one of us to realize that you are not an algorithm, that you are unique and rare, and it's so important to be you. And that's why I was so thrilled when I came across a video with astrologer Bryan Coulter. And he posed a very interesting question in the video that just stopped me in my tracks. And it was so simple. He asked, what is the thing that only I can say? Not what your feed says, not what your tribe says, not what your family says, but you. What does your heart say? And Bryan actually extended a beautiful invitation after that question, and that is to allow your heart to become the instrument. And I'd never really thought about that before, about the heart being an instrument. But I thought, well, if love is the melody, perhaps the heart is the instrument that longs to be played. And as I reflected on Bryan's words and the once-in-a-lifetime convergence, I couldn't help but think that each of us is a once-in-a-lifetime eternity event. No one in the history of existence has ever had your exact combination of soul frequency, lived experiences, your triumphs, and your wisdom. You are truly unique in all the world. And so I thought it would be fun if we could explore the question that Bryan posed, what is the only thing that I can say? And I'm excited to hear what you have to say, Michael, because you have so many wonderful things that only you can say.
Yeah, the other thing we're talking about for the show is in terms of expression of what is your heart's expression, and because not everybody may understand the question. The question is very deep. What is the thing only you can say? I can say a lot of things that only I can say. It's just a function of them being deep enough away from the facts, because people like to talk in terms of facts. What I do, where I go, where I live, what I drive. Obviously those things are unique to you because you chose them. But going on a deeper level than that, It's what drives you, in my view. How do you express yourself? What kind of, and because expression generally does come from the heart, unless you're copying somebody else. And I don't think you'd be copying somebody else and doing something well if it wasn't directly aligned with your heart resonance. It wasn't aligned with something that you had a love for, had a joy for, that was fun to you. Nobody does that for a long period of time or gets really good at it. I mean, I know kids who have been, who had a talent and their parents just, pushed them to get better at that, and they maybe, resented them for that and resented their own talent. But for me, I always have a rhythm playing in my head. I always have a rhythm. If it's not a song or it's something else, I have rhythms that I like to express when I sit down, maybe perhaps at a drum set, or if I get near a set of congas or something else, something comes out of me. I'm very rhythmic in nature, and it can happen at any given time. I love music because of the rhythms of that music. That's what I listen for. And that's my unique expression when I'm in a musical mode, is the music that I'm playing, because it's aligned with my heart's energies, and the rhythms that I'm hearing in my head. And it's interesting because I know a lot of people that just let music go by. Right? It's just noise in the background. For me, I can hear a riff. I can hear a couple of seconds of whatever it is that's playing in the background at a store or a restaurant or a bar or whatever I happen to be visiting, and I go, oh. All of a sudden, my mind shifts to what it is, and I pull out my phone and I Shazam the song to find out, so I can capture it, right? Because I want to hear the rest of it. Because what I hear is aligned with my heart, my energies, my rhythm, the rhythms that I live my life by. And so, what I love is to be able to, in my car when I'm by myself, I'll turn it up loud. I'll listen to certain things. Sometimes I'll listen to a song 2 and 3 and 4 times over again, because I'm just enraptured by the rhythms that are coming out, or the melody, or the harmonies that are being sung. It's really, really fantastic. Then there's other music that doesn't resonate with me at all, and the first thing I want to do is change the channel, turn it off, leave the room, go somewhere else, because it's like the opposite of the expression of love as an expression for me. So music is that way. And I told you earlier, the night sky. I love taking my little dog for a walk because I'm fascinated by the stars in the sky and the quietness, the darkness. In many cities, you can't see the sky, the stars in the sky, because there's way too much light, right? Light pollution. And for me down here, I love it because I'm not seeing everything. I mean, it's humid. The more humidity, the less stars you see. So the wintertime is the best time to see all the stars in the sky. But I don't see the Milky Way or anything. There's still a lot of light pollution here on the coast. But I'm fascinated, and I can feel my heart connected to the stars, the heavens. What's up there above me? And I love looking at them. I love looking at the planets through my telescope when I pull it out in the winter, when there's no humidity, to fog up the lenses, and when there's better clarity of the planets. And the first thing I see when I walk out of my house every night is Venus. I see Venus sitting over there, boom, in the horizon this time of year. Bright, brilliant, and I start thinking about my connection in the world to the universe. It's really kind of cool to think about that. And seeing Orion in the winter, certain things, I see the Big Dipper, and I don't see Orion because Orion's already gone. In the winter, I can see Orion all the time. Step outside and see those big blazing belt, and I start to think about, again, my place in the universe with the Pleiades and the various constellations that I can identify. And When it comes to people, my joy is in connecting with people and, again, leaving them better than I found them, to leave them with a smile, to share my light with other people. That's the way I express myself more than any other way, is to, no matter how brief, be kind, be compassionate, be loving. That light is the light that most people don't see throughout from other people. Maybe not even all throughout the day and night. They don't see it. But they can feel when they're in the presence of some really bright light. And in my view, my light is bright, and I just want to share it with them, to in some way influence their own energy field, to elevate their own energy field, to elevate their thinking. They may not even notice that the light is there, but they do sort of subconsciously know that they're feeling better. And that, because it's not about going on and saying, "Oh, I'm sharing my light with you, so you feel better." No, it's not. It's something you just do to elevate somebody else's mood, somebody else's light. You just elevate them from wherever their thinking is. Because most people work jobs that their perception of their job is that it's the means to an end. And unfortunately, that's the way it is in the world. People are taught that a job is a means to an end, when really it should be your right livelihood, the thing you resonate with, the thing that resonates with you, the thing that makes your heart flutter when you get up in the morning, the thing that brings you joy, and that it gives you a sense of purpose, and helps you love yourself even more because you're engaged in something that is connected to you, that is aligned with you, right? And so I'm happy to be able to do that for me, and I feel better now than I have. People say, "Oh yeah, you just had a birthday," blah blah blah. I feel, and they're talking about the things that are going wrong, and I'm talking about all the things that are right. The older we get, when you're around people who are older in their 6th and 7th decade, a lot of them tend to talk about the things that aren't working in their life or in their body or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh no, let's walk away from this, because this is everything with me is perfect. I'm perfect." And I see myself that way just every day. I've talked about it before. Perfection is in the moment. It's not a then thing or a was thing. It's a future thing. It's just right here, right now. I'm perfect as I am. I don't focus on a back that may be a little achy for the moment from something, or some sore muscles from playing golf, or whatever it is. If that's the focus, then that attention and focus on that is going to amplify that. So I guess I hope I've kind of given our audience a taste of unique heart expression more than anything else.
It's a beautiful expression. And Michael, when you were speaking, and you started off with speaking about music, and I couldn't help but think and you mentioned the Muzak, and a lot of people tune it out, is that we all sort of have this playlist. And back in the 80s, people would make mixtapes, and now playlists are on the phone, and you can put it on the various music channels, and it's kind of like this soundtrack for your soul that plays. And many years ago, I had a good friend of mine, Rashid Lani, and he actually did create a soundtrack for my soul. I laid down on a table, and he listened to what was coming and emanating from me, and literally composed a song as I was laying there. It was the most healing experience I've ever felt. But I think that a lot of times we do emit these frequencies that we're not even aware of. So I can be walking down the street with somebody, and they'll say, "Did you see that person?" And they're not in my field of vision, because for whatever the vibrational level is, and it's not that they're any less important, because every person is important, but it's not somebody that I was meant to connect with at that time and space. And so oftentimes I don't hear them, but I love going to see the symphony. And when I'm in the symphony, when I was young, I used to love to watch the harp. I love to see it be played. And when I go to a rock show, I'm a kindred spirit with you. I love the drums. There's something about that rhythm that just speaks and makes my soul sing. Although sometimes if I'm in a quiet space and there's a violin, somebody playing a violin, it's just so soothing. And each instrument is beautiful. And each instrument, when it's being held and played, has its own unique expression. Sometimes it's jazz, sometimes it's rhythm and blues, sometimes, who knows what it is. But I think that human beings are sort of like that. We recognize, and that's what spoke to me so much about the idea that us being an instrument and playing that tune, and how do we want to express that into the world? Because every soul carries a note. And I believe that right now on this planet, there is a shift in humanity. I'm seeing more people tune into conversations that are elevating and really wanting to stay away from the fear train and the scarcity train and really embrace and create a different world. I think that when we start to recognize that, I think that was the point of the question, that if we imagine every instrument only playing one note, there would be no symphony. It would just be noise. And perhaps that harmony that everybody is seeking isn't about us all becoming the same, which, you do see a lot of that on social media. I think that it is about the idea the harmony is created when we all step into the truth and the authenticity of who we are. And so the other part of what you were sharing about the stars, the stars make my heart sing as well. And when I go out and I look at the lights, and I just I feel a kinship to that. I think if you've ever gone camping and you lay and there's no light pollution, you just lay up, you all just feel like you're drowning in this sea of magical light that's coming out. And I don't know if you noticed it when you were in Africa, there was something, when I traveled to Africa, there was something incredibly breathtaking about the night sky. It was almost as if the constellations just came to life and could just touch out and reach you. It was really, really, really quite magical.
I agree.
Yeah, and it is. And I believe that when we are sort of navigating through our day, and we sometimes it's very easy to get disconnected from the message that we are here to share, whatever that passion is, whatever lights you up. And if it's not socially acceptable, perhaps it's a profession that is seen as a less than profession perceived by certain individuals, but every single profession is important. And yesterday, when I was outside doing some yard work, there's a young man who lives down at the end of the street, and he's lived there for a while, and he's 17 years young now. And when I see him, his face just lights up. And yesterday I said, "How are you doing? It's so nice to see you." And he said, "Guess what? I have a job." And I said, "You do?" And he started to share that he had been accepted into an apprenticeship program. So he was learning to make pastries, and he was learning food prep. And then he shared with me that he was able to finally work on the grill. And he said, "I really like the grill. I really like the grill." And I said, "That's wonderful, Sean. You're finding out what you're enjoying." And I said, "It's so fantastic to be able to access that when you're just 17. And I said, "And those skill sets that you're learning now you can take them anywhere in the world and you can do anything. I said, a friend of ours works at the university and he's a cook there. I said, and he can send his children there to get their educations for free. And he said, oh, really? I didn't know that. And then I said, and I have another friend who works on a cruise ship and he can travel the world and cook and prepare fantastic meals for whomever that comes on. I said, and so when you're learning these skills, and if it's something that you really enjoy doing, I said, know that there's so much more as far as possibilities that exist far beyond the four walls of the restaurant that he's being trained in. And I said, but it's wonderful that they're mentoring you, and he's learning so many different things. And it's nice because as I see that as being an expression, it was something that he never knew could be a passion. And I think when we walk through life with an open heart, which he does, he has the most beautiful smile. I wish I could bottle up his effervescence because he has such a zest for life. And
he keeps it.
Share.
Yeah. You can maintain that. Yeah, loving story, wonderful story. It's always wonderful to experience someone stepping into their right livelihood. It's just it's an amazing thing to watch and to be a part of just from a distance. It's cool, and I agree with what you were saying there. That telling them there are skills that transcend geographic location, and wherever you think you might be, they can take you. All you have to do is you think outside the box a bit. The person who's working at McDonald's today may have an interest in cooking and moving up and doing other things and do that same thing. And in the future, work on a cruise ship. I've run across many people who work on cruise ships. Cruise ships around the world, cruise ships are a way. The people I've run into of late in the past, let's say 10, 12 years as I've cruised around the world, the people who are working on the cruise ships come from a multitude of countries, and the ship represents an opportunity to engage in something that they enjoy. Also, that pays them better than what they could make, and many of them are always sending. They're on the ships. Their families are back home. It's just they're sending money back to their families. When we went to Alaska, a lot of the people on the ship were from Kenya, and they had a kindred spirit. They were kindred spirits because they were all from the same place. It was just I guess the visa situation was such that they came to work on the ship. They were earning more, learning more, making connections, and with other people that they from their same country that they would have never known. But they're supporting families back home, kids and the household, but they're doing it with such warmth, such joy, and you just when someone's not doing what it is that they were really meant to do. And many of us have multiple things that we could do and feel joyful and loving and at home and be full of light engaged in. And that for somebody who has chosen to go away and participate like that, gain that experience. I know a gentleman who worked on 3 or 4 different ships, worked his way into the executive staff of, I think the last one was on 4 Seasons cruises, which this guy he's from Cape Town, South Africa. What a wonderful spirit. But I wanted to tell you this story about 2 weeks ago. My girlfriend and I were out because we had discovered a jazz brunch. And it's a gentleman who plays the keyboard. He plays saxophone. He plays trumpet. And he plays flute. And he's, from like 4 hours or 3.5 hours, he's playing at this outdoors at this restaurant that we take a little corgi boy to. It says he's out on the patio, and we can take our corgi dog. So we go and we sit and we listen to him for a couple of hours. And every time we go, he's got somebody new that's sitting in with him. One time was a vibraphone player, and I haven't heard anybody play a vibraphone in decades. This guy was so good, and it was so soothing. It's a great instrument. And it was then he played his sax one time, and then he played his trumpet. But there was a gentleman who came to eat there. He was a brother from Atlanta, around the Atlanta, Georgia, and his name was Orlando Williams. And he was down for celebrating his 11th year anniversary with his wife. He'd taken a weekend off. He's a sax player and flute player that travels all over the world, playing with other groups and orchestras and whatever. That's his passion. His passion is playing the sax, and so that's his right livelihood. And he's very joyful, very loving. And he literally saw it was about he had about an hour and a half left, and they were going to eat. But he goes, "Oh, wait a minute, can I sit in with you?" And he goes, "Oh, absolutely, please do." And his wife was so loving because they went home to get his saxophones. He carries them everywhere. They're like his babies. He takes them everywhere with him. He never leaves them at home. He went to get his saxophones. He came back about half an hour later, and he was the most wonderful sax player. And he sat in with this duo, the vibraphone, the sax, the keyboard, and then some trumpet now and then. It was just fantastic. They played a variety of different jazz tunes. And we're talking about stuff that goes back to the 30s, some to the 40s and 50s, and just really, really wonderful tunes. And, you just sit there and you're eating and you're watching, and I got invited his wife to sit with us because she was obviously by herself now sitting. We didn't want her to sit alone, and she's such a beautiful spirit as well. And it's just, you run into these opportunities, and that's something that I actually would have done. He's invited me to come sit in with him every once, at some point. I have to figure out exactly how I can actually do that with what part of my kit. So that's under some sort of consideration at this point. However, I just enjoy otherwise just sitting and listening to the music. And what's beautiful about it is obviously we're attracted to the thing that we're most interested in, the thing that elevates our spirits, because that's how we create our reality. I love music, so I'm always guided to places where people are playing music and their own variety of music. There's a lot of musicians around town, but I just absolutely loved it. Loved meeting him and his wife, and listening to his passion, to the love that he was sharing with everybody that afternoon. And then he ate, and then he was off to do something else, and they were there for a long weekend, and I just loved it. I just loved meeting him, and that's the kind of thing that can happen when you maintain with things that you love. Obviously, somebody who's into motorcycle racing, it's likely that they're at some particular point going to be connected with somebody who's in that community, and they can have a conversation, and a race car driver or whatever it may be. They'll have opportunities that blossom from that love, that interest, that passion that they have, and the joy, even just being a spectator and really diving deep into the whole culture. It's pretty amazing, and we can do it with anything. It's loving. It's lovely.
It's so true. And you know what's so beautiful about that, Michael? Because when that question is posed, what is the only thing that I can say? It doesn't necessarily have to be answered with words. It can be answered with music. It could be, and that's what I sort of felt like when you shared that story, that what he had to say was through his saxophone. There is something when he is playing that instrument that not only makes his heart sing, but allows everybody in the room to feel that love as well. And I just love that story. That's great.
Yeah,
it is so perfect. And
happens a lot.
I don't know. Do you know if you're familiar with the author Mark Nepo? And this is what else came to mind was he wrote. There was a quote that he said that the bird does not sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song. And I think that that's part of that question because we don't need to have our whole life figured out before we share our gifts. And maybe it's just that need to sing or play the sax or get up and dance or whatever it is, grab a paintbrush. I mean, that can be an expression of your heart. However it is. It could be some people like to work with spray paint and some people like to work with watercolors. I have an incredibly detailed watercolor that looks like a photograph, and I marvel at it every time I see it. And it's not my expression. If I use watercolors, my expression is quite different, but equally as pleasing and beautiful in my eyes. So, I think that's exactly, and I love that story. And I'm sure if you aren't going with your full drum kit, maybe you'll find some bongos or congos or something to be able to join in.
To sit down in a stool, and I can play. Yeah, it's there's all kinds of creative ways to engage in that. One of the things I also want to say, because you can have multiple passions and things, and at any given time, one is you choose one that you would like to engage in. And in various parts of life, like I said, I love golf, I love music, but I haven't really played music with a group in over a year. But that doesn't mean that it's not still a passion of mine. It just means that I've put it on the back burner, and there's some other things that I'm participating in that I'm just as passionate about. We have multiple passions. We have multiple things that light us up, that put a smile on our face. And the joy to me is discovering them. It's discovering them. And I know that I have a passion for drawing. I don't do it very much. However, I guess it comes out in my writing. I write a lot. I write longhand a lot. Matter of fact, everything I do is longhand throughout the day. I don't type on computers, type notes on computers. Or on occasion when I'm out and about and I don't have a pen and paper, I'll type in something into my notepad on my iPhone. But I really love writing on paper. I'll buy a whole ream of paper, and I'll have, at any given time, 10, 12 sheets. And when I come across something, if something a thought goes through my mind, I'll write it down. I've got 3 or 4, I think I've got 3 note journals right now that I'm writing in, 3 different ones that have different purposes. And one is for after my meditations, and one is for our show, where I write down things, notes, and things that were said, books and things you describe and talk about. And the other one is just heart's desire. It's just whatever comes up. I'll write something in it. And the beautiful thing about writing is it's deeply connected to your heart. And writing left hand connects you with your non-dominant hand, connects you to your creative center. And most people aren't familiar with that. They think, right hand. But sometimes it's good to when you're looking to be creative, you want to exercise your own creativity to pick up a pen or a pencil and write with your non-dominant hand. And that taps right in to your creative side. And it just helps it open up. We all have a creative side. And unfortunately, that gets squashed when we're going through the process of 18 years of school, through high school, or through the first section of school for many people. However, the most important thing is to continually expand our understanding of ourselves. We do that, and because I can tell this first-hand experience, because even though I have a lot of things going on, I'm the one they'll tell somebody, being 68 years young, I still don't fully understand exactly what I want to be doing in this life. I've enjoyed everything that I've done up to this particular point. However, there's always something new. There's always something else, and writing books or producing podcasts is absolutely a wonderfully creative thing, and people always say, "Oh, you should just be a voiceover artist." And I go, "Well, I just talk to people through my podcasts, and our podcast. That's basically what we do. We are here to help expand the love people have for themselves and their life. In many ways, that's one of the big benefits of listening. But it's participating in things that that resonates with your heart. It resonates, that makes you feel good, that brings joy to you and a smile to your face, and something that you can jump into passionately, and regardless of what other people think, because there's way too much attention paid to what our external world believes or thinks about what we're doing, and it shouldn't be. We have our external world is there to resonate back to us what we believe about ourselves, and not to interfere with ideas, creativity, intuitions, ideas, subconscious thoughts that we have, conscious thoughts that we have about ourselves, things that are of interest to us. I believe that we should engage in those things that we have an interest. That not because that's what we want to do forever. However, listen, someone says, "Hey, there's a boat there. Let's row it." I've never rowed before. You get into the boat and you start rowing, and you go, "Wow, that's kind of cool. I like this. I'm going to enjoy this today." Doesn't mean you're going to come back and never do it again. However, the beauty of life is you can just participate in so many different things for the first time, and maybe the only time, because, hey, it made your heart skip that day. You keep repeating that pattern. You keep repeating that pattern. Before you know it, your life is expanded, and your joy is expanded tremendously, because you've opened up. You've opened up to what your heart's desires are in that moment. That's the beauty of it, right? Past, present, future, all in this moment. Open your heart in this moment to whatever's out there, whatever's going on, and feel good about it. I wrote something odd because I wrote something down when you asked that question the first time. I find great what I wrote down is I find joy in the simplest things. I just find
you do. I know you do. I do too.
Like, wow, like I'm I get up and washing sheets, ironing pillowcases. I find joy in that, satisfaction in doing that. Picking up every day, I go out and hang out in the yard with little Cobalt, my corgi, who likes to just know that I'm there. But I'm picking up pine cones and leaves and raking, and I'm doing this every day now. I go out and I have this tremendous satisfaction because I know that he's over trying to find little geckos in the bushes, but every once in a while I look over and he's looking up at me, going like, "You still here?" "Thank you, Dad, for being here." And he goes back to doing what he's doing, right? And because he just likes to know I'm present, right? I'm present. It makes him feel good that I'm present, and I feel good because when I get done, I see a very clean yard. I see a yard that he can run around in, or I can run around in barefoot. I don't have to worry about branches or pine needles and all this other stuff. And that's a once a day, once a morning endeavor. And it's come to be something joyful, and I've really never done that before. Because we have a yard guy that comes every Friday, and I usually let him do it. But by the time he comes, the yard is ready just to mow. He goes, "Wow, you clean it." I said, "Listen, I know you work hard doing what you're doing, but I enjoy this. I enjoy every day seeing how beautiful it is. You mow my yard once a week, but I get to see the beauty of what you do every single day." And it's a joy for me. And by the way, I did used to mow 4 or 5 acres, sitting on a zero-turn mower. If you've never been on a zero-turn mower before, it is a joy. It is so much fun to mow 5 acres of grass on one of those mowers that just turns on a dime. It's like a tank. You're driving a thing around, and it's just fun, right? And it's hot outside. You're sweating up a storm, but you just love it. It's just something that makes you feel good. So I've always said,
funny because I mowed the lawn I mowed the lawn, 2 lawns this week, and I have a push mower. It's electric, but I will notice things that I never would have noticed in the yard had I not been mowing that lawn myself. The tiny little flowers, and I'll mow around them, and I'll be like, oh my goodness, I've never seen this before. And it's a practice of being conscious. And Michael, I think there was something that you said that got my mind thinking about the things that light us up and the little clues that we have and how you share your message. And if I think back to when I was in high school, a freshman, and I got to hear the morning announcements, and all I could think of is, how do the kids get to do that? How can I do that? How can I do that? And then I found out that I could do that by joining the broadcasting club. Now, broadcasting club was nothing more than reading the morning announcements, asking everybody to stand for 30 seconds of private meditation, and then going into whatever the morning announcements were. And there was just a group of 3 of us. And as I went through all 4 years of high school, I got to be the president of the broadcasting club my junior year because the other people had graduated. But there was something about that really made me joyful. And it wasn't, I'm not doing what we're doing now, but if I think about the other little clues that were along my path that were very similar when I got asked to speak at an event, and I thought, I don't know if I could be a public speaker. But then since I knew the subject matter, it was just like having a conversation, and it was just very natural. And then when I met Glenn Brooks and he asked me to do a show out of a station in Boston about essential oils and the oils for ticks and how much I enjoyed it. And I thought, geez, that was really fun. And then he reached out and said, well, would you like to do a show out of a station out of California? And I did that for 3 years, and that's how I got to connect with you. But I think oftentimes we get these little nudges from the universe, and it's about that same thing. What is the only thing that I can say? Well, there's nothing profound in the morning announcements. However, it was sort of like the training ground for me to be able to be doing what we're doing now. And I think maybe one of the saddest things is that people fail. It's that there are so many beautiful songs within each of us that remain unsung. But when someone believes in you, that can change everything. And you don't necessarily have to be courageous to become fearless. I was at one point, if you can believe it, so shy that I was petrified to pick up a phone to order a pizza, or if I had to call somebody. I don't know what I thought would happen. But it's interesting because now that's not who I am at all. I evolved. And it was allowing that authentic voice within me to sing. And I don't know that if it's a remembrance or it's just a soul's calling. I am not really sure, but whatever we become along this journey of life, and I won't know until I'm on the other side looking back and go, oh, I was so grateful this person came into my life, and geez, even that challenge opened the doorways to all of these other things. But all of them allowed me to be able to open that doorway to what it is that I need to say. And I don't think it's ever finished. I mean, as long as I'm consciously on this earth breathing, there will be more things for me to express. And to whomever. It doesn't have to be the way that we're doing it now. It may just be in a quiet conversation that's exchanged over dinner or with a conversation with a stranger. Who knows? Who knows where that's meant to unfold?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful story, by the way, about your in being eventually the president of the broadcast club. It's interesting because the one thing I think about that story you just told, and what comes to my mind is that we are all connected to opportunities that align with our hearts, soul's mission and purpose. We have many, many purposes in my view. Our soul is here to do a multitude of different things. However, that was there for you. That was there to connect with your heart so your heart could sing, doing something that would expand who you are, like a stepping stone, right? Like you 50 stepping stones down the way, you're going to do a show with Glenn Brooks, and if you knew that when you were in school, that you knew that if somebody had said, "Oh, you're going to do a show," 20 years from now or whatever, and you would ask yourself, you get caught up in I could never do that. I'm afraid to do things like that. You get caught up in the fear of it. Yet, if you didn't know you were going to do that, and which you didn't, and now you had this opportunity, it piqued your interest, and it kind of touched your heart a little bit, and then you went ahead and you jumped in with both feet, and you sunk your heart into it, and you met some great people. You enjoyed, you figured out how to do it, and the fact that it was only doing the announcements in the morning, think about what that did for the other people as well. Everybody should have the opportunity to overcome, if they were fearful about doing it, overcome that fear by doing something just one time, as an example. But for you, it was a precursor to something. It was a stepping stone, I should say, for doing something in the future. That and on top of that, working with people through your essential oil consultations. People think that speaking in front of people, in front of a lot of people, or speaking into a microphone or whatever is a challenge, and that people are going to judge them in some way. And really, it's an opportunity for you to blossom. And getting to the point here, there are many opportunities to blossom, even though you may think at the time, "Oh, this is silly, this is ridiculous." There are opportunities to blossom, opportunities to feel better about yourself, to discover something about yourself that you didn't know, to discover feelings that you hadn't felt before, by making choices that are aligned with that little tweak that you being alert and aware of that little feeling that you have. "Oh, I'd like to do this. I'll go try that," right? And it's wonderful. I've never done that, actually. I've never done somebody else always did that, right? But I played in front of kids I played in front of a live audience when I was 7. Played drums in front of a live audience, played 1 or 2 songs every Saturday night for a couple of years. And that gave me the confidence to be able to sit down in front of anyone, right? Anywhere in the world, and go up and say, "Hey, can I play with you?" Don't know if I'd have had that confidence if I hadn't actually at 7 years of age sat in front of a bunch of people who I didn't know. And I wasn't thinking about, are they going to judge me? I don't want to mess this up. I was thinking about, because those when you say I don't want to mess this up, you're literally programming yourself to mess up. That's just the reality you're creating for yourself. So I always say, focus, attention, and just have fun. Focus, attention, just have fun. Focus on it. Shut everything out and do your thing. And let the chips fall where they may, so to speak. That's kind of the way it is. So I tell people about that in golf all the time.
No, you're absolutely right, Michael, because I think in any of the practices, and including golf, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you have to sort of shift from the noise of the world and just tune in and ground yourself and center and sort of anchor into what you want to achieve. And sometimes it's stepping away from the screens that we're looking at and the opinions and all the external output, because if you're standing on that green and somebody's, just saying to you in an opposite or positive way, you'll never get that ball over there. Why would you think that you could do that? That is going to place a belief system that's not yours. And so instead, if you're tuning into what you are going to know is your authenticity and your truth of what you can say, you say, no, I can achieve anything. I can do anything that I set my mind to, including getting that ball however many yards away. And I think that when we ask ourselves, what is the thing that only I can say today? And understanding that it evolves, and you notice what arises from that feeling in your body rather than the analytical mind. And I think that's a big part of it. I was just saying that to somebody today. I'm more right brain than left brain. I'm not analytical, although I do use those skill sets. I do feel a lot. I feel and I tap into that field of the heart. Now, do I always speak it out loud? No, sometimes it's just for me. And as you said, I like to write longhand. I will write things out, and I will be in a quiet space. And it's like the morning pages that Julia Cameron would speak about, 8.5 by 11, stream of consciousness thought. Let it be raw, authentic, free from any approval. Nobody ever is to look at your morning pages. They're just for you. They're there for you to be inspired.
Nobody reads my stuff but me. And a lot of times I write it down, but I don't necessarily go back over it. I've got journals that I have written things down just to get them out of my head. It's a cathartic exercise where they're not everything is meant to be put into a podcast or into public view, to a book in the future or whatever. It's just, I like to look at life as a series of chapters. And the chapter could be short, the chapter could be long. And I've always loved gathering chapters. And there's many chapters, as I tell somebody, the other day I said, I love my life because I've forgotten more than most people have experienced in their life. And that's been my goal. I want to experience things. I don't want to hold myself back. When we start listening to our external world and letting it guide what we think and how we feel and whether we do something or not, take action or respond in a certain way, from pre-programming or not, or from peer pressure, that's when we are not being our authentic selves. We're not doing and acting and thinking and feeling love. That we're not acting out of love. We're not acting out of authenticity. We're actually doing something that's aligned with what somebody else wants, with our external world wants. And that mechanism of peer pressure as a means of control, it gets way too much credit. It gets way too much credit and people give it too much credence. They spend way too much time thinking about what somebody else would think. I'll leave you with one story here. I was playing this golf tournament here on my course, and it featured guys like I think John Daly, a professional golfer, came down and he was part of it. It was a tournament for a gentleman who had passed away, a musician who passed away on the road going home. And I came to the 10th green, and I was at the bottom of the green, and the pin was at the top of the green, which was somewhere around 55, 60 feet away. And there were about, I'd say, 25 people gathered around this green, this 10th green. And everybody was kind of jovial and this and that because they were watching every group come through. And I had this putt. And I didn't even think about it. I didn't think about the people or anything else. I just literally hit this putt. And it went all the way up, and it dropped in the last rotation into this cup. And everybody was like, oh, my God, what an insanely good putt. Oh, my. You're like, whoa. You're like, it's like you'd be surprised by what you could do if you just put your mind to doing it and just believed. A lot of it is just simply belief. The concept of I'm about to do a podcast about believing in you shouldn't plant new thoughts in old soil. it's in old soil, right? It's like I'm going to plant a new seed in something, in a new thought, in an old belief. I'm going to do something, but I have this old belief, this core belief that you don't know is going to get in the way. That's really what it's all about. Create an old soil is basically, you cannot create an old soil. And I started thinking about that, going, that is so true. It's like, how many times do we seek to do something different? However, our core beliefs are misaligned with the outcome that we really seek for ourselves, because we're seeking to do something based on when an old belief is in place. We have to eradicate that old belief, recognize it, give it some credence, and say, you're irrelevant. You're irrelevant. You're no longer going to control me. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to live my life. And I'm going to live it with love and joy, and I'm going to do what's fun for me, because that energy that's created, that cascade of energy from that fun and passion and excitement that's derived from you engaging in what your heart is connected with, is the energy that moves you past the things that have been holding you back. Your mindset of lack of abundance, or a mindset of fight and struggle. All that. You eliminate that by moving out of your comfort zone and just doing what your heart tells you is right, and not doing what your heart tells you, maybe I shouldn't try that. That's not aligned with your wheelhouse, right? It's not in your wheelhouse. And just keep moving and discovering what you do and don't prefer, and you just do more of what you prefer. Your life is going to be richer and more joyful. It's going to be more excited. You're going to be more excited and passionate about getting up every morning. And I think it was several decades. I said, I'm just going to do what's fun, more of what's fun than what's not, every single day, and just build on that and see what happens. And it doesn't have to be, I'm taking a big cruise or a flight, or I'm going to Europe or whatever, vacation. It's just when you get up in the morning, I'm going to have fun making my bed. I love the way it looks. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to let the dog out. I'm going to have fun feeding the dog. I'm going to be joyful about cleaning the yard. I'm going to have fun about everything. You get those little things, and you just start stacking those fun things up, things that you now perceive as fun, and you engage in, and then other things that open up as well. And that creates a rich life, in my view. It creates a rich life, a life that is not rooted in what you can't do, but in what you can do. And just follow your heart. I guess that's what he was saying, right? Follow your heart, follow your joy.
Yeah, follow your heart, and let that be the song that comes from your own instrument, that being your heart. And Michael, as you were speaking, I thought how wonderful and how different might the world feel if everyone who's listening right now remembers their one unique gift this week, whatever it is. Maybe one more person would write the book that they've been wanting to write, or paint the picture that becomes a masterpiece, or start the business, or forgive themselves, or call a friend, or sing, or dance, or create, or smile, or simply just peace out.
That's exactly right.
Simply
peace out.
just do that. And I think it's all about simply being fully themselves. And I believe that is what is in that question. It is being yourself.
Right.
And answering that question for yourself, because each one of us has our own unique light and can bring harmony and unconditional love and absolute joy to this world. And by letting your heart be your instrument and love be the tune, how many amazing notes can be played in this symphony that's called life? I love that idea.
I do too. And I thank you. I love it. Thank you for listening. However you're catching this show, by PRN FM or podcast. So grateful for you. So grateful.
Yeah, likewise. And thank you so much for this time and all the gifts that you share. So keep expanding, and remember always to connect to love and, of course, to peace out. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.